on for a second. Just kind of let it go on. So the promoter was talking about getting some. Where do we go? Either the fairgrounds or I think IC Church, where across the street there, and they always have in Ohio. The festivals are just like there's a beer tent, and that's where everybody is. The kids go play their thing, and the parents are at their beer tent. So hopefully they could do liquor sales and all that stuff there. But they got like the ESPN ring girls coming in. There's a girl from American Idol that was singing and everything else. So.
Is it going to be broadcast anywhere? Or?
Right now he's kind of keeping that to himself, just because he wants to sell tickets. Yeah. And he doesn't. People will sit at home and watch it. Whatever. But
absolutely, yeah.
I think we're working on some stuff for production, but this might throw a kink in that as well. Who knows? It was bad. It flooded worse than what it did 15 years ago, and that building's bigger than like what the Trim Gym is. It's just massive, and it's all it fit. They said it got up to 15 feet in there. Now it's still 12, and that was 3 days ago. But we good to go?
Yep.
All right. Welcome to Ants Marching. I'm Mike Wessel. You can follow me on Instagram at Mike WesselBox. And tonight we have a local celebrity, good friend of mine, and kind of got me into radio a couple years ago when I first got into town here, and major fitness enthusiast, just talk about a guy that crushes it every day. This guy, Craig Miller's our guest tonight. How you doing, buddy?
How you doing? Great. Thank you for having me on, man.
No problem, man. Kind of want to go over some of the things now. Before we go into what happened, was it last week? You did some Hollywood things, but
yeah.
Tell me, is there a background? Have you done other things?
I'm a big time Hollywood star now.
Yeah,
big time.
Before this one incident.
And I want to say, shout out to your shirt there. I don't know if y'all can catch it on the live feed. Lambda.
Tri-Lam, baby.
Yes,
Tri-Lam.
Yes. I didn't know if Brandon caught that reference or not. You know where that's from, Brandon?
I think he told me, but I forgot.
Revenge of the Nerds.
Revenge of the Nerds,
yeah.
Yes, I think maybe he's wearing that in my honor. Maybe that's like a...
Well, I don't know. Message. It's the first time I wore it, and I was like, I like funny shirts. I like old throwbacks, that people might get or might not, but...
That's classic right there.
Yes, it is. It's classic.
Man, it was the craziest thing. I got a chance to be in the movie, which I know David Arquette actually came and worked out at the gym.
Yeah, David, he was up there. He worked out once. He's been doing the wrestling and stuff. He 2 or 3 matches already in the past couple weeks since he's been there. But how'd you get involved in that?
Well, I've been, of course, that's been, the big buzzworthy thing in town. They're making a movie in Jonesboro, which is awesome. And I've been seeing my wife, actually, she ran into David Arquette in the grocery store and at Bill's. And, of course, I saw your post and everything about him. And that was, big news. That's what I teach at Nettleton, teach film production. It didn't really just get on my radar big time until I saw our librarian at school. She had posted a picture of her with WWE superstar Hall of Famer Mick Foley. And
that's crazy. He even got involved in the movie.
Yes.
Now, did it wrap up? Were you at the end?
I was.
It's at the end. Okay,
yes,
it's done.
Yes.
Okay.
My scene was one of the last scenes.
Yeah.
But when I saw the picture of Mick Foley, Dana Williams is our librarian, and so I approached her. I said, how can I get involved in this? Mainly because I wanted to meet Mick Foley. I'm a big fan of, and she said, man, Mick Foley's already gone. He's done his part, but her husband has a big role in the movie. Okay. Alan Williams, who's the president of First Community Bank in Jonesboro, and she said, you can come and watch, which I checked with my principal, and that would be very good professional development for me. Mm-hmm. So we got it worked out where Friday, or Thursday actually, I just went to watch, and whenever they got done with one scene, and all of a sudden the producer, and he's actually from Bald Knob, but he said, all right, we're ready to get Craig in now. And I was like, there must be some other actor named Craig here. What the heck's he talking about? But come to find out, Alan had told them about me, that I was a local teacher, and they had a need of an extra. Okay. And so they just stuck me in as an extra. They asked me, would you like to do this? I said, man, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was so cool. So they put me in a hospital gown, and I played the role, Mike, of a comatose stroke victim.
Perfect role for you, I think. Yeah, no, you ain't gonna mess up your lines, anything else, and you look pretty dead most of the time anyway. So, you know,
you're a funny guy.
Yes,
that's what a lot of people don't realize that about you, because you got a reputation. You're MMA fighter, professional boxer, owner of Hilltop Fitness, but I've always found you to be hilarious.
Have you? Are you being sarcastic?
I'm not kidding you. I mean,
I appreciate it.
When you told me about this podcast, I was like, man, you and I should do something. I think we would be a great comedy team.
Well, that's what started this was you helped me out with that first computer, just using it and just kind of, me and my buddy were watching a fight and everything else. I was like, man, I don't know if I want to get into this. I just want to see what it's like. I just wanted to kind of experience kind of a little bit. And I mean, that was 6 months ago, 8 months ago, and always, I'd be down to do radio with you because it's funny when you're in the gym how hard you're working out. I know you don't like to be bothered and, be messed around with,
I'll snap at you if you
do. Man, you don't break that guy's workout because okay, so like they just asked you to be in the movie because your friend David.
Alan Williams.
Yes. Over at First National, right?
Yeah, First Community Bank.
First Community, sorry. Yes. Okay, so David Williams helped you get in just a comatose part, just everything else. Now, is this your first acting role?
It's actually not. It's the first major Hollywood role, and of course, my whole life philosophy, Mike, is always go for the laugh. So I'm trying to milk this. I'm a big time Hollywood star.
Of course, man.
Yes, but
comatose, but a Hollywood star.
Yes, but actually, I teach film production, teach video production at Nettleton, and even before I did that, it was a hobby of mine is making movies, and so I've being in some of my own movies. I cast myself. I knew the producer, so I got in. But
we'll talk about what you do over at Nettleton High School here in Jonesboro. Kind of describe what you do, because I know, if people don't know you, Craig's a great guy. Everybody loves him. There's not a person that don't. But you're so enthusiastic with your students. All your kids love you. Everybody wants to be around you because you're just that fun guy, and you've got major Nettleton pride. Look, you outdo me on my pride from my hometown of being from Ohio, but everything. You bring up old pictures and everything else from the 1970s when you graduated high school. Was that 70s?
89.
My bad. I was a little bit off though. But
yeah. You see, you're a funny guy.
Yeah.
You're a funny guy.
So tell me about your job. What do you do at Nettleton High School?
I am the instructor in the radio TV department there. Nettleton Television. I teach video production, television production classes at Nettleton. Been there since 2011. Okay. And we teach kids the basics of video production. We make it fun. We make it hands-on.
Yeah, because I always see the videos and everything else, like the kids behind the cameras. Especially now, do you do the games or do you do any projects that you're doing with them? Or
oh yeah, it's a project-based course. I set it up that way because I felt like that's the best way to learn is just by doing. And I'm not smart enough to sit up and lecture from a book, So I was like, let's just make videos. That's how we're going to teach you, because, just to kind of cover up one of my weaknesses. But it's a very fun class. We teach the kids, how to make a commercial, how to make a music video. We do in October of every year. They write and produce their own scary films.
Oh, cool!
Just like a horror short, which is a lot of fun. They just finished up the rap project, which I know is probably your favorite type of music.
Yes, yes.
The kids they write and produce their own rap song, Raider Pride rap song, and the videos just hit last week. So the class itself is project based, and we're always working on a video project. I've got, I guess, 5 regular classes and 1 lab, so we churn out a lot of videos. And you mentioned the live streaming. We live stream all the football games, nearly all the basketball games, a whole lot of the spring sports, soccer, baseball. So
now, are the kids volunteering for that, to do that, or is that part of like their classwork or whatever? They do a game, or they have to do something, or how's that work?
Well, it's the lab students. I have 1 class of the day for the more advanced students, the kids who care a little bit more, and that's part of the class for them is that they do the games.
All right.
And we live stream much like y'all doing right now. You're on Facebook. We live stream to Facebook, and it's just it's an incredible time that we live in right now. Literally 10, 15 years ago, you had to have a TV studio. You had to have some kind of a television deal to
The
broadcast.
soundboards and all that, all that crazy stuff. Now it's just on your phone.
That's right. And with your podcast, you can reach people all over the world.
Yeah.
Not just somebody on local cable. You could reach somebody all over the world with your message. It really is a cool time to be alive, and we do our best at Nettleton in my class to train kids how they can get a hold of that.
How to edit and how to do things, and I mean that's because I really know nothing. If it wasn't Brandon, I wouldn't be doing this. I've thanked him very much for being part of this because I'm just so technical. I mean, I hate my phone. I love it, but I hate it because I don't even know what it all does, and that's what frustrates me. Is like that you can edit pictures and all this stuff, and I just not into that stuff. I mean, just because I am the new generation of old man. I want it now. I don't want it any other way, and it should work when I say it work, and so.
Right.
But no, it's pretty awesome what you do with the kids over there because I know. I mean, you're always goofing around. You're always putting the videos up and everything else. And what is not Raider TV, but Nettleton TV? What is the name of the TV channel? Whatever.
We have a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
YouTube.com/Nettleton TV, I believe is
Nettleton TV. Okay.
Yeah. If you just get on YouTube and search for Nettleton Television, you will find it. We've got about 2,000 subscribers.
Awesome.
We had, last time I counted. And it took me a long time to count, over 2 million views.
That's great, man.
Which is, it's huge.
Yeah.
Full disclosure, the majority of those were from a little video I captured several years ago, Victor Duke's dunk. I don't know if you remember that or not, but it made ESPN.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Where the Nettleton student, jumped over the young man from Manila and got his head above the rim. And, I actually was filming, for the school and captured that. And somebody right behind me, I believe it was Josh Brown, he said, did you get that on video? That dunk?
Yeah, you better.
And I was like, yeah, I did. Of course, I was looking through the little viewfinder. I didn't realize how epic that was.
Yeah.
And he said, as soon as you can, put that on YouTube.
Yeah.
And so I went home that night and uploaded on YouTube, and boom, just went viral. Very soon I had ESPN emailing me, CBS Sports, Yahoo Sports, asking permission. Can we please use that clip?
Yeah.
And so I think of the 2 million views that we've got, that was probably about 1.2, 1.3 million.
Good
of them.
Lord.
So it was. It was number one ESPN play of the day.
Play of the day.
It was
Yeah.
number
I
one.
remember that. Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah. So the right time, right place, right there.
Yeah, but I mean, so besides the TV and everything else, I was kind of reading what you've sent me and everything else. You graduated from Nettleton, but you did 18 years of what was it, vocational ministry?
Yes.
Okay, explain that because I have my own theology, my own beliefs and everything else, and to each their own and everything else. But explain that's kind of got me curious because I really am into theology, people's religions, what people believe, and everything else. What was this about? You spent 18 years in it, so that had to be a passion of yours.
Sure, absolutely, yes, and still is. Just right now, not serving,
Yes.
vocationally. But it was actually in college, I had the opportunity to pastor a church.
Okay.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
But I was filling pulpits around, which means preaching in churches. And this one little church east of town asked me if I would be interested in being their pastor, which I felt like that's what God would want me to do at the time. And so I did. And from there, I've, for, like you said, the next 18 years, pastored another church not far from here, Finch Baptist Church,
Okay.
Which is just up 351. And then served, the majority of that time was in student ministry, youth ministry, church here in Jonesboro. And that's really where my passion is. I love working with teenagers, trying to be an impact on their life, trying to point them toward the Lord. That is where I spent most of the time at. And anyway, so that was a wonderful time. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and that was. If I would have had my druthers, it would not have ever ended. Yeah. But hey, life takes some funny turns sometimes, and thankful now to be in a situation where I'm still working with young people, just a little different.
You've been with Nettleton since 2009 or 10?
2011.
2011.
2011. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
so I mean, you've got 8 years in there, and that seems like ever since I came here. Did you start teaching right when we were doing the radio out there on the highway?
Very soon after that.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. And I remember when you came to town. I guess it was 2010. Is that when you came to Jonesboro?
Yeah, around there. Yeah.
And I'd heard about you.
Yeah.
UFC on the UFC show, and I was like, man, I got to get this guy on my show. At the time, I was working at a sports talk radio station, and had a show, and my desire was to get you weekly segment. Let's talk MMA. With Mike Wessel. I guess the management at the station thought it was such a good idea that they actually grabbed you for the morning show. Which
God! I didn't know that. I didn't know that. No, I remember when I was in the studio, we played RBI.
We sure did.
RBI baseball, though,
right.
The old school Nintendo, man. And I still got that game too. But yeah, because you're a huge St. Louis fan, and
yeah, I think that's the only time I ever kicked your butt in anything.
In anything, yes. I'm not a good loser when it comes to RBI, but I tell you what, Tecmo Bowl was more my style. I think I'm undefeated in Tecmo Bowl.
Yeah, it's like Han Solo said in Star Wars, let the Wookiee win. He could rip your arm off. So I was like, I better not wear this guy out. He could kill me with his bare hands. But
so you've been doing the radio to everything, and with this Nettleton TV, is there anything that you're doing right now as far as radio, like that anything that you go into that as far as radio shows or podcasting beside yourself outside of Nettleton?
Yes, I'm glad you asked that. That's and I love teaching. Mm-hmm. Teaching is a wonderful profession, and I'm thankful, and I will always love Nettleton schools, not just because that's my alma mater. And your alma mater is special to you. I know you got to speak at your alma mater.
Yeah, I got to go back to Salina and talk to them and everything else.
That's awesome.
And I even told them, like, part of my speeches, I stuck up for the teachers a little bit. And I was like, I have teaching degrees. I have special education and elementary education.
Awesome.
And, but my thing was, I was like, I'm never going to do it. All I knew was I wanted to be an athlete. I didn't know what I was going to do. Play football further. I did it for a little bit. Everything else. But I just wanted to be an athlete. I knew I wasn't ever going to be a teacher. But when I did my practicums, that was the most eye-opening experiences about how little you all get paid, how passionate teachers really are, and what they do for the kids, how much they spend their own money, which they ain't got. You guys ain't got money anyway. Just for it's more of the passion of the teaching, because you guys you guys bust your butt, with a lot of, and you deal with so much stuff that I saw, and it wasn't all negative. I want to be like that, but like the parents that don't take care of their kids, they're all of a sudden they're all American parents when their kid gets in trouble or something. I was like, man, I'm not gonna be able to handle parents where I'm not gonna be able to cuss back at them. I'm not gonna, or I have to be politically correct. Right. So the things that you guys go through as teachers, it really is. As I've gotten older, and known a lot of my friends that are teachers and everything else, and knowing what I've seen there, I was like, man, there's no way I'm doing this. Because it really is. And I'm not saying negative. It's a drain in a positive way sometimes, because you're constantly, like with what you do with Nettleton TV and everything, it's constantly going and constantly helping kids and constantly being in communication, because you're trying to guide these people now, and I just, I'm sorry, I'm more selfish than that for myself. That's truthfully what it is, but,
right.
So you with besides your teaching or whatever, you do another radio show.
Yes, I'm in the summertime, which is a wonderful part of education. Summer, you get great time off. But my friend Bud Schropel, he has I guess he was a pioneer in sports talk radio here in Jonesboro.
He's been around here for years, isn't he?
He has. I believe he started on the front row with Budrow. either 2000, 1999, somewhere around there, and he was really the first one as far as call in sports talk radio show.
There still isn't very much around here. There isn't really much sports radio around here that I know of, I guess, but I don't listen to radio anymore.
Well, he's on 95.3 The Ticket, and they have 3 local shows every day, and there's another one, ESPN 92.7.
Okay.
I think they have one local show in the noontime hour. But Bud is kind enough to let me sit in with him on his morning show in the summertime. Every Monday morning I do a St. Louis Cardinal talk segment, and like I said, Bud could not be nicer to me about that. He gives me a hard time on air, and sometimes if you listen to us, you think he doesn't like me. But I want everybody to know that Bud is very kind, because that's my summertime gig.
Yeah.
Because I don't work in the summer, but I also don't get paid in the summer,
yes.
which is a problem. But Bud, he allows me to sell advertising. And he tells me, he said, hey, whatever advertising you sell, you get to keep, which is huge, because it's his airtime,
Yeah.
And he could very well, and when he hears this, he may start charging me. I better shut up right now. But he is very kind to let me sit in with him, and it gives me something to do in the summer. And one of our sponsors is Hilltop Fitness, so I really appreciate your always stepping up and helping me out in the summertime.
Well, for one, just because I know you use the gym so much, and you're in there all the time. And I'm teasing because he does come in every now and then, and he was hitting it pretty hard there for a little bit last summer.
Yes,
was it last summer? Yes. And but he comes every now and then. He'll wander, and I'll see Craig and just like, I'm like, oh damn, he's got his one once a month in or whatever. But
he's back.
No, so explain on the sports talk radio when it was Cardinal talk. I always listen to the games because they always play them on the radio and whatever else, and I've listened to your show as well. But is there anything like you're doing new do you go to the games? Do you or do you just kind of watch them, or give people an idea of what you're doing with the Cardinals? Because St. Louis Cardinals pretty big around here. It's a major, and people that are in Ohio. We have Cleveland and Cincinnati, and then they have Cleveland and Cincinnati baseball, football, everything else. And in Arkansas, they don't have a pro team. Right. They don't have an actual. They have the minor league, I think, in Little Rock there. So everybody else that's in Arkansas is generally a Dallas Cowboys fan or a St. Louis Cardinals fan,
which is what I am, both
yes.
of them. But
are you a Cowboys fan too?
Yes, I am. Yeah. It really speaks to the power of radio, I think, because there's so many Cardinal fans around here. For the longest time, the St. Louis Cardinals were the furthest west team in Major League Baseball and the furthest south team. And they had KMOX, which was a clear channel station, meaning there's no interference, nobody else is on that particular dial, and it reached, you go out to Colorado. I've been out to Colorado before with my Cardinal hat, and people are like, hey, I'm a Cardinal fan. My grandpa used to listen to Harry Carey, and Jack Buck. But growing up here, I became a Cardinal fan through the influence of my dad. Mm-hmm. And my grandfather, he was a big Cardinal fan. And I don't go to the games, to answer your question. I go as often as I can, and I like to go over to Memphis and watch the Redbirds. But to prepare for the radio segment, I watch the games, and I have a couple of apps on my phone, Cardinal apps, where I do a lot of reading and then research about what's going on with them, and just kind of type up a little segment.
Now, they've already started, correct?
Yes.
They've already started season and everything else.
Yes.
Are they doing well already?
They're doing really well. They're in first place.
Yeah. How many games? 1, 2?
Last 2.5. They were 2.5 up as of this morning. They won today, so that might have changed. But they're in first place and doing great. Now, usually, and that's one thing Bud Rowe gives me a hard time about. Usually, whenever I start my segment, the Cardinals take a little. It caused me a jinx.
Well, I understand the jinx thing. I just went to Ohio and I was talking to my good friend Butter, and we were having some wings and a couple beers and just talking. He's like, man, did you watch the Cubs when they went to the World Series? Because me and him are like, I'm a Bears fan. I was a Cubs fan. I don't watch sports very much anymore, and I didn't watch any baseball at all that year. I just remember the year before I kind of watched, but it was the highlights, clips, whatever. And the Cubs were going to go to the World Series, and it's Game 7. And I was like, man, you know what? I'm not going to watch this. I didn't watch one game. And if I watch this game, they'll lose. And then I'm going to feel like it was my fault, and everything else. I was like, I'll just watch it after. So I understand the jinx thing because I didn't watch it. And I mean, for a Cubs fan, even though I really hadn't been into baseball that long, for a while, I just kind of take myself, I don't watch college football anymore. I don't watch NFL. I just kind of, I'm doing other things, and that kind of part of my life has been expired a little bit, whatever. So I kind of really wasn't keeping up with the Cubs. I was like, man, I did want to see him and see him win. I did want to be part of that experience, but I was like, I didn't feel like I'd done anything to support them. So, maybe you should take a step back from, and maybe the Cardinals, because because the Cardinals and the Cubs are the same conference, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because that's a big rivalry here. I always went to St. Louis, and gosh, I remember that one game. It was like 109 degrees out at 8 o'clock at night. It was awful, but I love, you've been to St. Louis Stadium before?
Oh, yes.
It's awesome. That statue, Jack Buck, that's out in front there. That stadium's a great stadium. If anybody, and I that's one of the things I do like to do is go to live games and all that, and see the stadiums and see the architecture and all that. There's some great stadiums across the country, but St. Louis is by far one of the funnest towns. When I get a little time, I go out, just kind of hang out. That's where I went for my birthday, 40th. So
awesome.
Yeah,
awesome.
But
yeah, isn't it crazy? You mentioned I can't watch it because I may be a jinx. I can remember as a child, Dallas Cowboys. I was a huge Dallas Cowboy fan. But I would lay perfectly still in front of the TV and watch the Cowboys games, and I would not move an inch. I would be afraid if I moved an inch, it would mess the Cowboys up.
Yeah, man, I'm still that way though. I mean, I really, the superstitions and all that stuff with sports, man. There's certain things I do with fighting, that it's just like. It's almost obsessive compulsive. It's like turn the doorknob 3 times or that type of thing. I have to have, it depends on the fight and what's going on. But it's funny, I'll kind of let you, like the night before, after weigh-ins and everything else, I'll go eat and everything else and I'll go back to the hotel. But I shave completely. I shave my legs. I shave my, I don't have any chest hair, but I'm not that manly, man. It took me 38 years to grow this, but, no, I shave my arms, shave my legs, and people, that's what we used to do as swimmers too. And so that's kind of like that was my OCD. That's what kind of breaks it down. Like, okay, you're going to fight tomorrow, And then I also sleep on the shower floor. I don't understand that either, but that's the thing I do in hotels before the night before a fight because that cold floor. It's just something I do. It's an OCD thing, and not an OCD thing. It's just a tradition or whatever you want to call it. That's kind of what I do,
Do you shave your eyebrows before a fight?
No, I don't shave my eyebrows. This all says this is all premeditated, partner. Like this is all lined perfectly.
That might be a good strategy for you. Shave your eyebrows. That way your opponent can never tell when you're surprised.
Well, I do Mach 3 these. When I shave my face, I take a little razor and clean up. One of the things I always tell people, I told the high school when I was back home talking to them, I was like, I'm a firm believer, like, it doesn't matter what you're doing, whether when you're listening to somebody or somebody's coaching you or you're involved in something, if you can take one thing away from a talk or whatever it may be that you're doing, positive or negative, that, hey, I'm not going to be this way or, hey, I'm going to be like that or I'm going to and put that in my arsenal of things that I need to be doing for my life. I was like, just take one thing. And if you take one thing, I told him, I was like, trim up your ear hair. I told him about this old man that had his porcupine bush. I was like, so yeah, I clean up the ear hair. I clean up everything else. I'm a pretty boy. I don't like chicken wing sauce in my fingernails. I have to dip. And then I'm not a hunter fisher. I don't really belong in Arkansas. This is too much of a, hunting country. But
here you are.
Yes. No, I've been here in Jonesboro, 10 years? Yeah, so almost, I think I got here at the end of 2009. And I moved and I was training out of Memphis and everything else. And that's when I met you and we were doing the radio station out there a little bit. And we've always kept in that. Well, then I was coaching for Nettleton volleyball. Well, they won state that year. Mm-hmm. And so I helped the Nettleton. And so I've always seen you around and everything else. And we've, of course, being in the gym and all that stuff, as much as you are in the gym, but.
It is. I follow you obviously on social media and everything, and I saw where you were speaking to your high school at an assembly, which is pretty big high school.
Yeah, there's a lot of kids.
Is that not one of the most terrifying experiences ever, speaking to a high school crowd?
Here's I've told this story before, but I tried but it was for my high school. That's what it was. That was what I was kind of like. I've done public speaking and everything else. I could talk and everything else, and I could BS the whole thing and not even really have it. Just give me a subject and I'll go. And I tried so hard. I did notes, and that's where the ear hair thing, because I was eating breakfast, going to my notes, and there's an older man, but it really was. It really was. Like, I was in the middle of my talk, and I was already jumping around. I caught myself like, no, you ain't supposed to say this till this, and I didn't really introduce myself. I really didn't tell them what I've done, and it wasn't in a smooth way. And I stopped in the middle. I put the microphone down for a second. I took a breath. I go, look, I said, guys, you got to understand, I'm more terrified of you right now than any time I've ever been doing anything. I said, I get punched in the face for a living. Going to Vegas, that was a pump. When you walk out for the UFC, when I was at UFC 92, like when your music hits and the crowd's roaring and everything else, and even playing football, college football, whatever it was, but yeah, standing up in front of my high school. And the other, maybe it will be different when I go to a different high school or whatever to speak or whatever, but because I wanted to do so good for my high school, and I wanted to reach those kids, because I'm from a small town. Now, it's way smaller than Jonesboro, and, it's probably 20,000 people, and the kids really don't have, there's not much money in that town. It's not like everybody's poor and it's, not a good place, but it's a great place for people, but it's just not a ton of money. Right. People don't have a lot. So kids that, I was at 11 years old or 10 years old working as a busboy, I think that was for $1.10, so I wanted them to know that, hey man, adversity and all the things, you can leave this, and if you want to be something, be it, and go after what you're doing. That's just general statements that I'm saying right now, but yeah, that's what I was so upset about. And I told him, I said, I'm sorry. I said, I don't mean to be jumping around. I really did practice, but I said, my hand's been shaking the whole time. But I got feedback from parents, and I got feedback from a lot of the kids message me on Instagram. I told them, I said, message me on Instagram. I will just say C-Town. And they also, there's probably 50, 60 messages by the end of the week from kids, and about 20 from parents, and people calling me and saying, my kid loved it. They're the most genuine. Because I guess Daryl Strawberry and another athlete came in before and gave speeches. And the kids were always on their phone. The principal said the kids were always on their phone. Really weren't paying attention. You could tell that the speeches they were giving was kind of like Mad Libs. At in town here, the same speech everybody's doing. And that's what the principal and several other parents and the kids were saying. It's like, you were genuine. Mm-hmm. You really spoke from your heart, and you I was honest with them. I was like, look, I'm scared to death. And it really was. It was one of the most, I've played in front of people. I've done a lot of things in front of a lot of people, but speaking to kids in a high school was totally different than I've ever experienced.
It's a tough crowd. And I've done a lot of public speaking. I'll tell you the two toughest places that I've done it: prison and high school.
You spoke to a prison?
Numerous prisons, yes.
Really?
I've spoken to numerous prisons.
Was it during your pastor days and everything else?
Yes, it was. At the time, it was a mission trip, local church university ministry, the university, the music minister, a guy named Trent Blackley. He put together a mission trip, spring break mission trip, but instead of going somewhere off, he lined up several prisons. Several in Arkansas, Tucker, Cummings, Mississippi State Penitentiary, Parchman, and we went in and did some singing, and I would speak to the inmates, and that was
that's got to be intimidating, man. That's got to be like you're in the belly right there, brother.
Yes, maximum security.
Yeah, that's Mississippi State. It was
Mississippi State Penitentiary.
Yeah, that's big time.
The worst one, it was over in Tennessee, and it just so happened that this particular prison, there was a large number of black Muslims, and they purposefully were trying to be a distraction, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
And if it was a group of teenagers, you might say, "Hey, knock it off. Please listen to me." But whenever they're, killers,
Yeah.
"You guys do what you want to do. I'll do what I'm doing."
I'm just gonna keep speaking and close my eyes, ignore you. You ain't here. Get through your speech, man.
That's right.
Wow.
But no, it's but high school. Gosh, the high school crowd. I think probably the most cringeworthy story I've got as far as public speaking. I came back to my high school, Nettleton High School, and I wasn't working there at the time.
Okay.
But they asked me to come and MC this big event that they were having. It was actually kind of a comedy type event where the guys were dressing up like girls, and it was like a beauty pageant, which this day and age you couldn't get away with that.
Yeah.
It was the world has
Different
changed.
time. Yeah.
But I was the MC, and I was supposed to do a little bit of comedy while the judges tabulated all of the results.
Yeah.
So I think, well, if I have 5 minutes worth of material, that'll give the judges plenty of time. So I'm watching the judges. They're down there. They're down in front of the stage, and they are taking their sweet time and getting all these numbers put together. And I reached the end of my material, and they're still tabulating, and I'm up there on the stage in front of this whole school, and I got nothing.
So did you say anything, or did you just end and just put the mic down?
Well, thankfully, he may be listening right now. I don't know. There's a student named Jeff McKnight. He lives in Colorado, but he was a Nettleton guy. I think he realized that I probably had that deer in the headlights look, And so he stood up and started yelling and started chanting for his senior class, some kind of senior class chant.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, the sophomores started chanting theirs, and the juniors
98,
started chanting
yeah.
theirs. So he kind of rescued me that day. But that is a tough crowd. I was proud of you for going back to your high school and speaking, because that's not an easy gig.
No, man, it was such a positive thing that every time I go back to Salina, the people are so awesome to me, and it's not that it's just, and it feels good to be known, not for the antics I had in high school, but to come back and be known as, what I've done professional fighting with coaching with Arkansas and all that stuff. These people know me for different aspects, and they're proud of me, and I really wanted to say something to the kids there, about my life and adversity and stuff like that. And it was terrifying, but man, the principal talked to a buddy of mine after, and like the principal told me, he goes, when Darryl Strawberry's there, they didn't care.
Wow.
They're watching their phones. They didn't, nobody was on their phone when I was talking. Nobody was talking to other people. They were laughing with me. They were having fun with me. Then it was I had a really good connection with them, even though I kind of chopped it up a little bit and I explained it, but it was I love my hometown. I'm just like you love Nettleton, the way you were treated and everything else. And it's not that I'm not treated any different here, but it was such an uplifting thing that I just wanted that positivity to carry on, and let them know that, I'm bringing a fight. I'm taking pay cut to come, because I could have went a couple places to fight, June 1st, and I just wanted to fight back home, because when I do go home, it's such a great positive thing that everybody's like, Mike, hey, how you doing? What's going on? How are you doing? And I feel bad that we're talking about, names, when you learn names, and I get hit in the head too. I've used my head as football, fighting, everything, and so I don't really remember a lot of people, but once their names, it's been 20 years, but it was such a cool thing, and yeah, it was scary. It was definitely one of those things where I was terrified. My hand was shaking and everything else. I had to take a couple sips of coffee, thank goodness, because that was just funny. I love coffee. That's my savior, but what I was going to say is the Salina, anybody from Salina watching this right now, not to take away from Craig real quick, but June 1st, the fight is still going to happen. Okay, the venue that we had majorly flooded. It went under water. It's like the second time it's ever happened. Well, it happened to happen 5 weeks before, but we are looking for a different venue, the fairgrounds or the old IC Immaculate Conception High School. So to let the people of Salina know in that area the fight is still on. I'm still coming to fight. I'll actually be there in about 2 weeks to do a little bit more promoting and everything else, and just get some away time for training for me. And but the fight is still on June 1st. But back to Craig over here. So is there anything that you're trying to, like, what are you looking to do is besides the summer? Is there anything that you're like in the future, this is what Craig's going to be doing? Because what's awesome is like we were talking about earlier about technology and how everything else. I see how you embarrass your daughter. I see that poor girl, when you went to Texas, a trip to Texas, and I've seen the videos and everything else. How old is she?
She is 18 years old.
Yeah, she graduated this year? Or?
She graduates this week.
That's right. It's almost, school's almost done. My gosh.
Yes. That's obvious. I know how much you love your son.
Yeah.
And that's a priority for me is my wife and those kids. But my daughter is, she's had the great misfortune of having to go to high school with her dad.
Yeah.
And, you know me, I'm a pretty embarrassing guy. You could imagine if I was your dad.
Well, I've seen the videos, man. They are funny, but it's not me that's happening to. So,
right,
so.
Right. You can laugh at her pain.
Yes, that poor little girl is.
But no, she is awesome, and she's going to be graduating Saturday, which there's quite a few. You just wait, whenever Talon is. He got his last week of school and whatnot, his last ball game and everything.
Yeah.
It's a lot of mixed emotions as a
little bit overwhelming.
A little bit. I do my best to kind of not think about it.
Yeah.
So much, you don't want to.
End of an era.
End of an era. That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. End of a chapter. But it's like they say, time slows down for no man, and it's it's just time marches on. And
yeah. Now, how many kids do you have?
I have two.
Two.
Yes.
What's the other?
Colby.
Colby. How old is he?
He's 14.
14. Okay.
14 years old. And you actually, you probably remember several years ago, I came to you and asked if you would help train Colby and get him a little self-defense training, and that was awesome. He really enjoyed that. I think that made him a lot more confident ball player. The things you were able to teach him, so you've made a big impact on my son's life. And,
I do remember him being there. I was asking for general questions, but I love that you brought him to me, because most people don't understand, like, martial arts. They think, they see the TV, everybody thinks, oh, I could do that. Well, I thought that too, and I did it. But what goes into it and the confidence you have, when there's a fire or a big problem, that's when I'm the calmest. I'm the most calm person, because the adrenaline doesn't change you, and that's kind of what martial arts does. Whether it be karate for the kids and everything else, it doesn't have to be MMA specific or boxing or whatever it is. But something about jiu-jitsu, grappling, wrestling, any of those things gives kids such a confidence in what their abilities are, and it gives them a calmness to it, And I want any parent to put their kid in. I think they should have it. Every kid should be doing some type of martial art, if anything, just as a mental, spiritual thing, because it really does build the confidence in the kids, and they don't use it.
Right.
They know how to use their hands, and they know how to defend themselves. So they don't come around 90%. There might be a couple in there. I'm not going to try to speak for everybody, but the kids really do attach that to their lives, and it's like whatever they approach. It might not even be boxing, karate, whatever that is. It could be studies. It could be something. It's a structure that really does help these kids out, and I'm glad that it helped Colby and everything else. But the way I teach people and everything else. I had a kid call me the other day, and he goes, well, how much is it going to be, and blah, blah. I said, well, I'll tell you what. I said, you're going to come at 3. I said, it really depends on how much time you put into it. I said, because I stopped really coaching any type of fighting. I'm working on my fight. I stopped coaching just for a little bit, probably just to kind of take back, do some things I want to do right now, see my son more. And, this kid, he called me, and it was just interesting because you could tell his mom was making, well, if you want to do it, call him. If you want, you could tell he was calling me. He's 15 years old. He goes, well, how much is this going to cost? Whatever. I said, I'll tell you what. I said, the first one's on free. I said, it's on me. I said, we'll see you Monday at 3, but it's going to determine, I said, your work ethic is going to determine if I want to train you, if I want to put the time into you. Because people don't understand, like when coaches, just like with your teaching, you put so much into these kids trying to do, 50 kids' projects, help them individually with their projects and everything else. And sometimes they don't care about it as much as you do. And I don't have time for that. I've turned a lot of kids down, or a lot of people. I mean, even there's a couple pro guys, a couple amateur guys that are around here that I'm just like, man, nah, I'm good. Like, because their work ethic isn't what it needs to be where they want to be. Now, this kid's 15, so he's not, but I want to see you work. I don't want to, me and a lot of other fighters, we joke and talk, but when we're coaching people in boxing or whatever else, they'll be, why do I got to jump rope? This is stupid. I could jump rope at home. Well, for one, you won't. You won't jump rope at home. I need to see you doing it and know that you able. And the thing, there's like 6 things that I have these kids are just basics that I have people do as far as fighting. And if you ain't willing to do those basics and go home and practice your footwork, and practice your head movement, when in fighting don't you need footwork and head movement, and jumping rope. Okay, if Floyd Mayweather can make hundreds of millions of dollars fighting, he jumps ropes an hour a day, and that's when he doesn't have a fight. So you're saying that I take it as an insult when kids are like, I don't need to jump rope. I'm ready to go now. No, you're not. No, you're not. It's not that easy. And if you think you don't need to do what one of the best in the world that's ever boxed or ever done fighting, what he does, just 3 minutes, because the attention is like, man, I want to learn this amazing stuff. Well, that amazing stuff happens one over every 1,000 fights. Right. But a jab cross has worked since the beginning of fighting. So that's kind of one of those things where I really haven't been negative towards people with it. I just told them, no, right now isn't the time for me. Right. Right now isn't, because I don't know if I don't want to really put my time into it, because it's going to take away from what I'm trying to do with just a podcast and be with my son and traveling as much as I am. Or I don't see the heart in people. And a lot of that, do you see that in your kids with the high school and everything else? What is that dynamic? Because it just seems like, to me, kids, and this is an old man talking, like kids today are not driven. There's no, to me, and I don't know, but what do you see that in the high school with the kids? Or
from my perspective, teaching video production, I have a whole lot of students. I think last year between 140 and 150 students. The vast majority of them, they don't have a passion for it. Yeah. It's not going to be their job. They're in there because it's a fun class or it's an easy class. And both of those things are true. It's a fun class and it's an easy class. It's the easiest class in the high school. But there are that small percentage who they really, they want to know how to properly frame up a shot. They want to know how to run a camera. They want to learn how to edit, because they want that to be their life work.
Yeah.
It's a vocational technical class. And those are the ones that, and you can spot them,
Yeah.
They rise to the top.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's the same way with at the gym.
Yeah.
Of course, you've got, it's one thing I've always been impressed with, the number of kids that come in with the kids' classes and everything that you got. And, you're teaching them basics of throwing hands and how to throw a punch and self-defense.
And the movement, I do a lot of footwork drills and athletic movement. And this is one of those things where, with the vocation, I like that you said you're honest about it, but really, it's another old man saying, if I would have known then what I know now, it'd be totally different. I really wish I would have paid more attention to those, to the technology classes, to the certain things, because as I didn't know who I was going to be. Mm-hmm. And when you're in high school, you just dismiss certain things. I don't need to read that. I don't need to pay attention to that. And it's one of those things where I really missed out on a lot of things because of my ego, my stupidity. Because now those things, just like fighting. I didn't wrestle in high school because I was so focused on football, and I didn't want to wrestle. All my best friends were in wrestling. I missed out great experiences. I really wish I wrestled in high school now, because it would have made me a 10 times better fighter for something I didn't know what I was going to do later. Right. And that's what I try to tell even the kids that are coming into the classes. And like, why are we doing this footwork drills? Or it's not much negativity, but you can tell they're sick of doing the speed ladder, or they're sick of doing the cone drill, or sick of, you don't know what you're going to be in 10 years from now. You might need this. You might need to. You be happy 10 years from now, and that's what I kind of try to put into the classes with just the boxing and what I teach them outside of the athletic department. And I really wish that I would have paid more attention to the vocational stuff. It'd make my life a lot easier. This guy wouldn't have to get off work. Brandon wouldn't have to get off work and rush over here so that we could do it, because I would be able to do it myself. And it really is an embarrassment to me because I didn't do those things. So I think, when the kids miss out because they're not driven, they don't really understand, who you are 18, 21, 24, 27, 30, 33 is going to be a completely different person every 3 years, and I really wish I would have paid attention more. That's one of my biggest regrets of what I've done in my life is I didn't do the things that I should have and put myself in the right places for later, And so, I appreciate you just as being a teacher, and I say that, some teachers are, we don't need to go that way, but there's a lot of positivity with you, and it's always been funny there's rarely a time I've ever seen a kid not smiling and not being around and doing what they're doing in your classes and everything else. And so you have a major impact on those kids because they're always smiling or they're goofing around like, whatever. I mean, just like the picture I posted today, and the things, because you make it fun for me as well. Like every time you come to the gym, I mean, when I was teaching a little bit of boxing and everything else, how to the backhand run away, which it worked. It worked. You did it to, was it Boudreaux?
Yes.
You did.
I slapped the taste out of his mouth and I ran like a squirrel, just like you taught me.
That's what you got to do. Just get it in, get it out. Let's go. Right. Man, just on a side note before we finish this up and everything else, I've got a girl named Rebecca Treat. ASU softball team's going to the Nationals. They're going to the national championship, and I wanted to give a shout out to ASU softball. Congratulations! You're an ASU graduate, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes,
You went to what years were you at ASU?
I was at Arkansas State I graduated in Nettleton in 1989. Graduated from Arkansas State in 1994. So 89 and 94 I was at ASU. We were the Indians back then.
Yes, before the change in that university, since I've been here 10 years, has changed so much.
Oh,
the hotel that's being built, the stadium's names and everything else. I mean, Scott McDaniel was on last week.
I saw that.
Yeah, and he's the one that designed that stadium, the waterfall. And I was like, really? Why did they put a waterfall? And he goes, well, they were trying to do a unique thing for stadiums. He goes, but this is called the natural state. So they wanted to put that waterfall and everything else in there, and there's a big addition going on there.
It's beautiful. It's amazing. I got out not too long ago, thanks to you. I care about fitness now, and so I get out and walk, and I walked around the campus the other day. It's just almost unrecognizable from what it was back in the 90s. Whoever's calling the shots out there, they've done a really good job of improving not just the athletic facilities, but just the campus as a whole.
Yeah, the campus has changed a ton, and I don't go in there much. For a little bit there, I was working with some therapists when I had my knee surgeries and stuff, and my ex-wife was going to drop her off at that time, whatever. But it's just the positivity that's coming out from ASU has been awesome to see. The culture of Jonesboro change too with the culture of the college and everything else, and I think it's becoming one of those really cool towns now that in a couple of years it's going to be a major thing that everybody's going to know. Being in East Bend,
Jonesboro is a great city. It's my hometown.
Yeah.
I love Jonesboro, and I don't know it's your adopted hometown, but I love Jonesboro, and a major part of what makes Jonesboro what it is that university out there. Mm-hmm. You take that university out of Jonesboro, and it's not near the great city that it is. And actually, that's my wife played volleyball there. And so,
oh, really?
Yes.
Your wife's name is Lindsay, correct?
Lindsay, yes.
Lindsay, yes.
Yes, so she played volleyball at Arkansas State and paid for her school. Mm-hmm. So, because of her athletic ability and that volleyball program, we're not under.
Just not still in debt. It's just
that's
you
right.
though. So you're the one that's keeping the debt now for the education of you. That's the bills are still being paid, but
Yes, I am the albatross around her neck.
Well, is there any shout outs you want to give out to anybody or anything else? Is there anything that you want to kind of give specifically, a message, or do you want to, like, anything you want to say, man, go.
Man,
say.
I appreciate that, bro. I appreciate the opportunity to be on your podcast, and just want to, if I can give any shout outs, I guess it'd be obviously my wife and kids. It's tough living with a big time Hollywood star.
Yeah, I imagine that comatose role is going to take you places, man.
Yes.
Now, okay, so let's go back to that real quick. So you do your first Hollywood gig.
Yes.
Now, what is the name of the movie that they're shooting?
12-hour shift.
12-hour shift, and isn't it supposed to be like a horror comedy type thing?
Horror comedy, it is. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
And I was told that Arquette's going to be here for a little bit longer and everything else. I don't know if that's true or not, but
I'm not sure either. I do know that the producers of the video, they're actually going to come to Nettleton Tuesday and talk to my classes.
Oh, awesome!
Which is incredible. Incredible opportunity for the kids to get to be around. But David Arquette and his wife Christina, which I got to meet her, just incredibly nice lady, and she's from Arkansas.
Really?
Yes. But
now, so the producer was from Bald Knob,
right?
And David Arquette's wife, who is she in the movie as well?
I don't know that she's in the movie.
Okay.
I really don't know if she may have some kind of small part. I really don't know about that. Mm-hmm. She should.
Well, you were asleep during your role.
Exactly.
So you couldn't be. Yeah. You had to be in your character.
Oh yes, and I think I nailed it.
Yeah. I don't think it's not too far of a stretch for you. So I know, but that's awesome, man, and congratulations on just being asked. That's awesome. The producers are going to come to Nettleton and talk.
Coming to Nettleton Tuesday to talk to my students. Which is, of course, I teach film production.
Yeah.
And here we have a couple of professionals who have, won Emmy Awards.
That's awesome.
And they're going to be speaking to my kids, and that thrills me. It'd be about like if Selena had a professional boxing class or an MMA type class, and have you come in and speak to it. I mean, you got somebody that's a professional in the field coming in. That's invaluable.
Yeah, yes. That's that's one of those things where there's situations for your kids. If they can take one thing from if they're wanting to do something in their future, or whatever, or might change over with their idea of it, But that's an awesome experience, just to have some of the better, not the better, I guess, it would be the lack of my rhetoric here, but to have professionals,
right?
That have done it, won Emmys and everything else, and that's awesome that they're doing it here for this community and everything. That's pretty cool.
From what I understand, the Arquettes just fell in love with our community, and of course, they received a lot of tax breaks and everything for. They're trying to get more films. The governor is trying to get more films produced in Arkansas, which is a boom to the economy. Yeah. And so, the Arquettes they just raved about Jonesboro and how much they enjoyed their time here. They stayed at a Airbnb. They sort of stayed at somebody's house, I guess.
Oh, really?
And they absolutely loved the community, and that speaks well for us, I think.
Well, I think really, because I lived in Fayetteville, coaching for the Razorbacks, and when I first started fighting, I was in Little Rock, and then now I've been in Jonesboro for 10 years. And those are three completely different places. Right. But you got Hot Springs. What's the other major town? I forget what it is right now, but it's one of the biggest cities too. I forget what it's called, what the name is. By Devil's Den, for some reason. The national parks and everything else. This state is beautiful. This state is one of the people really don't understand how awesome this place is. But yeah, I really hope that they're able to get more movies produced and more things going, because there's so many natural resources, so many things that are here that it's just kind of like, I guess I take for granted we're on our little area, we're in our little pocket of the earth, and it doesn't get too much exposure. So hopefully they did enjoy it and everything else. And you got a partner, do you get to be on the Writers Guild? How's it work? Do you get your card for being in a movie? Do you get the union?
Still working out the details on
that. Okay, contracts, you can't talk about it.
Yeah, it's highly confidential, and my agent's handling most of that stuff.
Yeah.
But I'll try to get you in the next film. If they do something else, I'll try. I got a friend named Mike Wessel, professional fighter.
They need me
professional
for
football player.
Beauty, anything for gorgeous men. I'm the guy. I'm the guy for that.
And if they need another comatose stroke victim, I'm the guy.
Your face does droop a little bit. No, Craig, thank you for being on tonight, man. I love you. It's always good talking to you. It's always good having you around.
Thanks,
Anything you need as far as the gym, you're always, you know that, man.
Yes,
It's
sir.
all good, brother.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
Craig Miller, Nettleton High School teacher.
Great run.
And that is it. Thank you for watching Ants Marching. Good job, man. That was awesome.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah.
Hope I didn't kill your show.
No, that was perfect. We flowed really well. I thought, you know.
I was looking at the comments.
Oh, I haven't even.
I was gonna ask you, but I usually try to ignore what people say on there because it doesn't really flow well.
Yeah.
Someone was like, "Why don't you consider changing the background? It's kind of disturbing." And I was cracking up.
Well, maybe I will.
Mary
I like it. I think it was funny.
Mary Laxton made some comments.